Good evening, everybody. I'm Marianne Shearer, and tonight I'm going to be speaking to you about your immune system, how it works. I'm going to give that to you as simply as possible, because I know that most of us get overwhelmed when we start hearing terminology that we're not familiar with. And just sit tight. I'm going to make this as simple as possible, and then I'm going to give you as much information as I can that's practical so that you can help your immune system protect you and keep you healthy. We're living at a time when people are coming down with not only the latest virus, but several viruses. People have autoimmune diseases. People, 1 out of every 2 people will suffer from some form of heart disease. 1 out of every 2 to 3 will suffer from some form of cancer. Diabetes is one of the biggest killers and main cause of blindness and amputations. And we know that the third main cause of death in westernized countries, certainly in countries like the United States of America, is actually side effects of medication, incorrectly prescribed medication and prescribed medication, surgery issues. When we look at the levels and the statistics, it's number 3 on the list of possible things that you could die from in a westernized culture or country. So tonight, as I said, I'm going to be talking about the immune system. And why talk about the immune system? I mean, because it's right at the forefront of everybody's minds right now. Everybody is running scared, and we run scared when we don't understand things. It was President Roosevelt that said, the only thing that we have to fear is fear itself. And the reason that we have fear when it comes to our health is because most of us have no clue how our bodies work. I know when I was at high school, I studied biology and science, and I had this natural interest in the human body. But even I found now, even because there are new studies coming out all the time, there's just new information about this incredible body that we live inside. It is unbelievably smart, incredibly smart, and you'll find out tonight just how smart parts of it is. And this is just dealing with one aspect of the human body. It's actually an amazing system. And at the end of the day, health is true wealth. I mean, you can have all the money in the world and die prematurely from a disease that you can't buy. You can't buy your health. People with enormous amounts of money. I remember when I was growing up, people like Aristotle and Onassis and Howard Hughes were famous, and I read their life stories, and I found out how they were not well at all. Their health deteriorated at quite a young age. And with all that money, they couldn't buy their health. It doesn't really matter how smart you are or how much money you've got. When I say smart, I'm talking about intelligence, how many degrees you've got, how much you've studied, and what kind of work you do, how much money's in the bank. None of that means anything when you don't have your health, because how can you even enjoy what you've worked so hard for? When it comes down to it, it's actual knowledge of how your body works and then action. So it's 2 things: knowing how your body works. Knowledge casts out fear. It gets rid of the fear. When you understand how your body works, then you're not able to be manipulated in any situation by anybody, because you know what you're dealing with. And then not only the knowledge, but you need some practical application, because you can have all the knowledge about the human body, no practical application, and you're just stuck. You still feel like you don't really know what to do. So hopefully tonight, I'm going to help you with that. And I am on a mission to get as many people in this world as healthy as possible. Mark, my husband, and I are on this mission to make the whole world well. And it's very idealistic, I know that much. But hey, we've got to start somewhere. And we've been at this for over 30 years now, helping to get people as healthy as they possibly can, of all shapes, sizes, colors, from all over the world. We've had an enormous amount of fun, done some really interesting things, but the most rewarding thing is hearing people's stories, from how their tinnitus has gone, how they're sleeping better, how there's no snoring, how their immune system's working, how, like Mark and I, they haven't had a doctor's bill due to ill health for the last 30-odd years. And it's possible. We're not anybody special. We were at the doctor all the time with ear infections, tonsillitis, bipolar disorder, high and raised blood pressure, children with ear infections, tonsillitis, runny noses, or allergic rhinitis, allergic dermatitis I had. And so we were always at the doctor with something. And for the last 30 years, we've lived in a place where we call the sweet spot, where we haven't had a doctor's bill due to ill health, not because we're something special, simply because we found out how our bodies work and we found out how we can support our bodies. And that's what this is all about. Everything we do is about helping people get to a place where your body actually just repairs itself. And that's the best way to stay well. There are no gimmicks. This is not about any gimmicks. It's not any tricks. This is us just trying to help, as I said, get the whole world well. So without further ado, let's talk about the immune system and what it does first, and then what you can do to help that immune system function efficiently. And there's a lot that you can do, but sit tight. We're going to go through the immune system and just check how smart it is, okay? All right. Right. So what is your immune system? That's one of the things we need to look at. Let me just do this bigger, and then I can take my glasses off. Right. The immune system is a system that protects your body from harmful viruses, bacteria, pathogens, microbes, anything that's not supposed to be in your body. That's what your immune system does. And it has various ways of dealing with various systems of dealing with that. There's various organs in the body, cells, substances, tissues involved in helping your body protect itself. And I like to think about it as different divisions of the army. In fact, if you look at the immune system, it's like the most efficient army in the entire world, okay? It does the most incredible things. And what's more is it does all the stuff without you giving it one direct instruction. I mean, as you're sitting right now where you are, your immune system is working on several levels. And as we go through it, you'll think, oh my word, I didn't know that. Or, oh my word, I thought that was it, but I wasn't sure about it. And you'll be amazed at what it actually does. And when I think of the army, there's sort of different divisions. And I'm not a military person, but my husband was in the army when he was younger. And I said to him, what are all the divisions in the army? And so he rattled off some, and this is just some of the things that I captured tonight. The infantry, which is the guys that are like literally on their feet with guns. And then there's intelligence, the guys that go and find out all the information, and the spies are involved in that, and surveillance and all kinds of stuff like that. Logistic support, that's everything about where people stay, where they live, and all that kind of thing. Then there's air support, and there's sea support, and there's maintenance, which is fixing things and moving things around, and catering, that's feeding people and training them. And then, of course, communications. And I probably haven't even captured all of them. And when we look at it, there are at least 15 different areas in the body of different organs, different systems that help your immune system function efficiently. And the first of them are sort of the outside things. There's also things, as I say, like the armor division, the elite strike force. So there's some of the others that Mark gave me. And each division is divided into sections, and these sections work together to make each division work, and then all the divisions work together to make the entire army work. And that's what your body does. All these divisions, all these systems work together to keep you perfectly healthy. And if you know what you're dealing with, it's easy to work with your body. It's not that complicated. So there's several defense systems, as I say, that kill viruses, bacteria, microbes, and as I said, we're going to go through all of this, but at the end of the day, what's important to realize is, as much as you're not giving the system clear instructions on what to do, your endocrine system and your central nervous system are basically heading the instructions in the body and telling it what to do. So you're not consciously doing it, but at the end of the day, these systems are very consciously doing it, but you're not conscious of them. Most people don't even know what the endocrine system is. It's basically the system that controls your reproduction, all your organs, your liver, your lungs, your heart, your kidneys, your skin, your immune system. It's involved in directing the brain and nervous system to work efficiently, and the brain and central nervous system and the endocrine, what we call the neuroendocrine connection, is connected in the brain. You've got the pituitary gland that's locked into or connected to the hypothalamus, which feeds into the brain and central nervous system. And so those two, the pituitary gland is heading the endocrine system, and the hypothalamus is heading the brain and central nervous system. They are intricately connected. So anything that affects the brain, for example, like stress, will affect the endocrine system. Anything that affects the endocrine system, for example, reproduction, pregnancy, for example, on the brain and central nervous system. And good or bad, you'll have, if it's good effect, it'll have a good effect, and if it's bad, it'll have a bad effect on the two systems. All right, I'm just going to make sure that I sip so that I don't get dry tickles. All right, that's my ice making a noise. All right. So if these two systems don't work properly, your immune system is never going to work like it should. And signs that your endocrine system is not working properly is you could have a thyroid gland that's not working properly, your metabolism is sluggish, you battle to put on weight, you've got, lose weight. Both, either or. You can be underweight or overweight if it's not working properly. You may find you suffer from constipation. You might find that your skin is not functioning like it should. You may find that you're tired all the time, that you suffer from brain fog, you can't sleep at night, you've got poor muscle tone, your heart, your liver, your lungs, any part of your body literally that's out of balance. You could have allergies, inflammation, asthma. Anything could be wrong with your body, and that's the endocrine system basically, because it's connected to every single system in the body. And of course, the brain and central nervous system, we know that when it's not working properly, your brain just doesn't want to function as well as it should. And your central nervous system may be sending incorrect signals. So if these two systems, your endocrine system and your brain, are not working as efficiently as they should, then your defense system, as I say, won't work properly. And when this happens, you'll get sick. You get sick periodically, you get sick. And when your system's working properly, you never get sick. It's that simple. You get a little, maybe a sore feeling at the back of your throat, and you just know what to eat and you know what to do. Go to bed early, and the next morning you wake up, it's gone. So signs that your system is not working the way it should is that the one thing it tries to do is force you to rest. And it does this by you'll lose your appetite. And to lose your appetite, you usually lose your sense of smell. I laugh at people and they say, I've lost my sense of smell. I've got the virus. Well, any type of flu, most people lose their sense of smell. They actually say, I can't taste anything. And that's because your body's trying to force you to actually fast so that your energy kind of slows down, your day to day, and your brain slows down, the blood sugar drops, and that's to put you in bed, and so you can sleep and rest, and then your body can repair itself. So you'll lose your appetite, your sense of smell, you'll lose your strength, you'll lose your sharp mental abilities, you'll feel like your head's full of cotton wool. You may find that you have bad body odor, but what it's doing is forcing you to go to bed and rest. And in the old days when you went to see the doctors, I remember when my mom took us, it was always a case of drink more water, go to bed and have plenty of rest, and don't eat unless you're actually hungry. And that was like the advice we were usually given. Today, you're given a whole list of things that you need to go and get from the local pharmacy, and very often they interfere with the way the immune system works. So if a virus or harmful microbe arrives in the body, and the body has several protective mechanisms and stages that can destroy viruses and produce antibodies to protect you from future attacks. So let's start firstly with the external protective mechanisms of the body, and then we'll move on the internal mechanisms. Now, these external mechanisms, they require very little energy and focus from the body. It's just kind of automatic things. And I like to compare it to the army. It's like if the enemy are approaching, they might go and put some booby traps in place. And so there's no actual people at that position. So there's no soldiers there, okay? So you've got some booby traps, maybe you've got some ditches dug, maybe you've got some landmines. It sounds very gory, but you've got some things in place so that the enemy, before it even gets to you and before there's even like contact with him, physical human contact, the army has set things in place. And that's a bit like the outside parts of the body. So the first protective layer of the body is, the first line of defense is actually your skin. If you didn't have any skin, you'd have terrible infections all the time. Your skin is like the barrier. It's like the fence. It's like the wall around the castle. It's like the fence around your property. It's there to protect you, and it's to keep the bad guys out. And the first thing, as I say, is your skin. It's an enormous organ. It's completely controlled by the endocrine system. That's the system that controls it. I spoke about controlling everything in the body. And it's a physical barrier. So it's physical, and it stops things like microbes and bacteria getting into the body. Now, your skin has a natural acid pH of about 4.5 to 5.5. That's normally, it's a slightly acidic pH, and in that acidic environment, it's very difficult for bacteria and viruses to multiply. They can't really live in that environment really very easily. It discourages the growth of any of these of any of the microbes. And sebum, which is the oil on the skin, is a natural antibacterial oil that we make. Our body makes natural oil, and perspiration, saliva, nasal secretions, tissue fluids, and gastric secretions are all involved in protecting the body, kind of forming this barrier to stop the bad guys coming in. And so what do we do traditionally? We have been taught, now I know this is going to shock a lot of you, okay? But we've all been taught to take a bar of soap and to wash our bodies. So what we're doing is we wash those natural oils off. We alter the pH of our skin from a natural acid environment to an alkaline environment. And when it's alkaline on the skin, we're not talking about in the bloodstream or the way the diet works. When you create an alkaline environment on the skin, what happens is bacteria can multiply. So we've all been taught if you want to get rid of bacteria, you've got to wash with soap. But if you wash carefully, it's interesting to see when doctors wash their hands, they always scrub their hands, and you're told scrub your hands with a nail brush. And what we know that scrubbing the skin does is it removes all the dead skin cells, which form a lot of the food for bacteria and microbes and things, the bad guys, okay, the enemy. It's for them, all the dead skin cells on your skin. So what we do is we walk around with this dried, flaky skin cells on our body. We get rid of all the oil and we strip our acid mantle off, and then we wonder why we get infections and weird things on our skin. I watch how young people, when they have things on their skin, they're sterilizing their skin. They're putting things that are virtually neat alcohol on their face. And all you're doing is sterilizing your skin, which means you're killing all your friendly bacteria, altering the pH and removing the oils. Not a good idea. The best thing you can do is invest in a good body brush and brush your body from top to tail in circular movements towards the heart. That way you get all the dead skin cells off, and then you get into the bath or the shower and you just let the water wash it off. Most water has a pH of around about 7, which is pretty neutral, so it doesn't have any effect on your skin. And so you wash off the dead skin cells, you leave the oils behind, and you leave your friendly bacteria behind. It's cleaner. You are cleaner when you scrub your body. And you don't have to do it every single day, but at least once or twice a week is an ideal thing to do, okay? So I know you're all shocked at that. I haven't used soap on my body for over 30 years. I don't smell. My skin doesn't dry out. Like a lot of women my age, have much drier skin. I don't lather cream all over my body because I have natural oil. And as I said, I don't use soap. And many people over the years have found that their skin is much softer. They don't get infections, but cleanliness is very important. You must clean your skin. The only time I'll use soap on me is if I've got bicycle grease from my bicycle on me or something like that that's really difficult to get off. I don't even use chemicals to remove makeup from my face. I just use water-soluble makeup that's natural from natural sources like there's a whole lot of kinds like Dr. Hauschka, that kind of makeup that you can use just comes off with water. And you don't have to use any cleansers even, which are, as I say, sterilizing agents basically. So I don't need these glasses. So cleanliness is very important to protect our body, but we've been taught that you have to have soap. Like you've got to go and wash your hands. No, take a nail brush and scrub your hands. It actually keeps it cleaner. All right, so body brushing is number one thing, okay? Skin. That's how you look after your skin. We'll talk about diet and how it affects the skin later on. The second line of defense is the mucous membranes. Now, what they do is they inhibit the entrance of many microbes. We've got mucous membranes in our nose, in our mouth, in our ears, everywhere. Any orifice has mucous membranes. It's not as effective as intact skin because it's now giving you actually entering the body. Okay, so it does protect you, but you do need to make sure that you're looking after it. The skin's a very efficient physical part of the team, like the boundary fence or wall, and it acts as a deterrent. But the mucous membranes, what the mucus does is it traps microbes in respiratory and gastrointestinal tracts, okay? So, for example, you breathe in through your nose, and you've got mucus in your nose and down the back of your throat, and you can trap microbes in that area. And then your nose gets itchy and you sneeze or you cough, and then the mucus comes out and you blow it out, and that's when it comes out. That's why we cough and blow our noses. Some people get irritated. They say, why do I have to blow my nose? This is so irritating. Well, if you didn't, all those microbes would just stay inside there. So you get the urge to blow your nose, pick up your tissue and blow your nose. Just blow it. Don't make that funny noise though. Blow your nose. It's getting it out. Okay, show and tell I'm giving you, okay? So what the body can also do in the gastrointestinal tract, you've got the mucous membranes, is something goes in there, and I'm sure this has happened to many people, something goes into your digestive tract that's not supposed to be there, and it's toxic. It could be rancid, it could be a toxic substance from a poison mushroom or anything else. It could just be something that's gone rotten. many people have found that they will just vomit or puke up. They'll cough it up, or they might even vomit something out. And that's one of the quickest ways to get you something toxic out. Another way is to get diarrhea. 2 quick ways. Vomit it up, quickest way, and the next one is diarrhea. So very often we panic, like I'm vomiting or my child's vomiting and they got diarrhea. You obviously need to be smart and watch it, and we need to make sure we're getting enough fluids and putting our electrolytes back in our body. But at the same time, we need to stop panicking about all of this, because a lot of it, like fever, we'll find out now, is actually part of your immune system's way of protecting your body. So then there are the hairs in our nose, and they're amazing. They actually filter microbes and dust in the nose, and viruses and bacteria. And that's why I find it quite weird with corona testing. They're testing in the nasal passages, because you're going to catch viruses on those hairs. So if they're there, you're going to find them, which doesn't mean you're necessarily infected. Very often people have said, I've proved positive, but I got no symptoms, because your immune system was doing what it was supposed to. Trapped them in your nose, and they went and stuck a bud in there and took it out and said, oh, you're positive. And now you're quarantining for 2 weeks and there's nothing going on. So it's really more accurate to take a blood test, but it takes longer, unfortunately. So this is one of the ways that they do it. But that's where it's going to get caught, because that's part of your immune system. And anybody with a medical degree knows this stuff. This is stuff I've got out of medical textbooks. This is not any physiology textbook has the stuff in it. All I'm doing is trying to make it simpler for everybody to understand. So these little hairs or cilia, what they do is they trap and remove microbes and dust from the upper respiratory tract as well. So if you get that feeling, you could sneeze or you could cough, and they come out, okay? All right, number 4, lacrimal apparatus, or the tears. Such a long name for tears, and then we'll read that and we'll think, I don't know what they're talking about. It's your tears, okay? And we know that tears dilute and wash away irritating substances and microbes. And again, it does it all on its own. You're not telling your eyes will start to water. So for example, if you're in a place where there's something toxic in the air, your eyes will start to water. That's get the stuff out. Get out of here, or get the stuff out of here. That's a protective mechanism. Your body's designed to do that. We think of it just when we use onions and they start making our eyes burn, because there's substances in there that shouldn't be coming into the body. I'm always telling people, if you're going to eat garlic and onions, eat it really cooked to death, and then you destroy any of the antibiotic and mustard oil properties. You reduce it dramatically so your body can handle it. And we know that cooked onions and garlic don't make your eyes, particularly onions, don't make your eyes water. So tears have naturally sterilizing properties, and that will destroy bad bacteria, but won't destroy your friendly bacteria. But very often people will go put sterilizing drops in their eyes, and I'm not anti-eye drops. I mean, a saline solution, you get an eye drop that is naturally got minerals in it, and those minerals just help they almost like natural tears. Some of them are very close to natural tears. They're naturally sterilizing without upsetting your body or the bacteria. So then we get to the 5th mechanism or system that in the body that actually helps to protect you, and that's the saliva. Now we're talking about not just mucus. Some of you have mucus in your nose, but it's not saliva. We're talking about saliva, the spit in your mouth, and that's making me thirsty just talking about it. All right. And what this does, saliva washes microbes from the surface of the teeth and the mucous membranes of the mouth, and they alter the bacterial balance or the pH with sterilizing or chemical. So when we alter the bacterial balance or the pH in our mouth with sterilizing agents like mouthwash or toothpastes, or all kinds of people will put all kinds of things in their mouths, rinsing their mouths out with all these, sterilizing their mouth because they don't want to have bad odor or bad breath. And bad breath actually comes from the lungs, and the number one cause of that is actually dairy products and food fermenting in your digestive tract. And you'll learn on whether it's my book Perfect Health or on any one of our programs, you will learn how to get your digestive tract working properly so that you don't have a bad breath. And it's one of the best things that I think of, one of the many good things, not one of the best. One of the many things is that you don't have any body odor and your mouth is always smelling sweet. And if it's not, it's because you're not well. And then you know something's wrong. I need to maybe just fast or rest my digestive tract. I love it when my husband says to me, I love the smell of your breath, because Traditionally, I mean, as a kid, my mom would walk into the room and kiss us good morning and say, "Oh, it smells like a parrot slept in your mouth last night." And that's very common with dairy products. I always had a white-coated mouth and the tonsils that were rotting at some point. And your tonsils, we're going to get to that, is also part of the immune system. All right, so many a mother, and I've seen this so often, who sterilize their babies' bottles or toys. I've had people are sterilizing all the babies' toys because of all the bacteria and sterilizing the bottle. And then these kids just have mouth thrush all the time. Because what you do when you sterilize things and a baby puts in its mouth is that you're upsetting the friendly bacteria. That sterilizing agent is on that toy or on that bottle, gets into the mouth, upsets the friendly bacteria, and then Candida albicans, which is what thrush is, just multiplies. It normally lives in our bodies all the time, but when you're sterilizing the digestive tract, whether it's the mouth or further down, the Candida can multiply. And so it's not a good idea to put sterilizing things into our bodies because you upset your natural bacteria. And we know our gut biome is one of the systems in the body as well that actually protects our body because it's been found that it actually helps the immune system work incredibly well, your natural friendly bacteria in your gut. And so it's important that we're not just putting, things down our throat and into our mouth because that's going to get into our digestive tract and affect us. So what do you brush with then? What are you going to brush with if you're not going to use traditional sterilizing toothpastes and tooth gels and mouthwashes? And, if you really feel like you need to rinse your mouth out with something, then just have some minted water. Put some mint in warm water or cold water and rinse your mouth with that. What are you going to brush your teeth with? I brush my teeth with a natural bristle brush. And I use either an aloe toothpaste, which is 90% aloe. It's like 99% natural, but it still get a little bit of a foaming action, and it tastes like normal toothpaste. And the other toothpaste I use is tooth powder, actually, which is made from things like bicarb and some peppermint and natural tooth powder, which polishes your teeth, cleans your mouth, makes your mouth feel fresh, but doesn't have any foaming agent in it, okay? So those things won't upset your friendly bacteria in the mouth. So healthy mucosal and mouth bacteria protect the entrance to the body, and it's very important that this is where the bacteria will get in. But we've got mucus in our mouth, that's actually going to help to protect the body. And we need to be aware of that. We really need to know that your body's protecting you from the minute you breathe anything into your nose or into your mouth. And so if you feel your bacteria is out of balance in your digestive tract, then one of the ways you know that is your breath doesn't smell good, your mouth's always coated, kind of feel a bit hairy in your mouth. You could take natural friendly bacteria, and best I've ever used is called Flora Food from the AIM company. And if anybody invited you to the program tonight, you can ask them where to get it. A couple of things I will mention. Go back to the person that invited you, and they should be able to tell you how to get products that I may mention at the wholesale price. I've got a lot of Dutch blood in me, and Dutch people, if you know any, usually like a good bargain. They like a good deal. They're not going to pay the full price for anything. And so the Flora Food is what I use. You open the capsule and just sprinkle it in your mouth. It's basically tasteless. It just looks like a white powder, but it contains natural friendly bacteria that live in human beings, not in another animal. So it's a good thing to do if you've always, as I say, got this white mouth or bad taste, or you feel you've got infections or your children have infections in the mouth like thrush. Rather than sterilizing them, just take the natural friendly bacteria, sprinkle them in the mouth, take some aloe vera jelly, drinking jelly, the aloe vera drinking gel, which feeds that friendly bacteria and makes it multiply and help the friendly bacteria control the bad bacteria or the ones that get. Candida is not bad unless it gets out of control because it's there all the time. So if your bacteria is in balance, your immune system is going to work properly as well. So 6, who would have thought this? Your urine is actually part of your immune system. It washes microbes from the body and the urinary tract. It's perfectly designed to do that. And when you treat your kidneys and your urinary tract and your bladder with the respected needs by feeding your body properly, then that bladder works perfectly. But if you're putting the wrong foods into your body, then you're going to find that you're prone to bladder infections. And that's your body's way. You'll see later on we talk about inflammation and how it's part of the immune system and protecting the body, but it's very unpleasant when there's inflammation. So you want a bladder that works very well. And number one place to make sure that it's working properly is to make sure you're drinking enough water. And we're not talking about drinking, 5 liters of water a day, but at least 1.5 to 2 liters or 6 to 8 glasses or 250 ml cups of water on a daily basis. And if you're eating a high whole food plant-based diet of raw fruit and vegetables, you're getting in extra water as well. When you go to the bathroom, the way that you know that your bladder is working properly and that your urine is doing its job, your urine shouldn't be dark and it shouldn't have a strong smell. If it's a strong smell and dark, you're not drinking enough water. So you need to make sure the first thing you do is drinking enough water. And an easy way to do that is before you eat or drink anything, whether it's a cup of tea or coffee or a juice, it doesn't matter what it is, or whether you're even eating an apple, drink a glass of water first. It doesn't matter what it is you're eating or drinking, always drink water first. Because very often we're not actually hungry, we're actually thirsty. And your body's way of telling you there's not enough water in here, again, there's the signal that comes and says, drink water, and we think, I'm hungry. Because the signal for hunger and thirst is very similar. It's at the back of your throat, basically. And so it's not a gnawing feeling in your stomach, hunger. That means a pathogenic gnaw means your stomach's not working properly. And that's a different subject altogether. We can talk on the digestive tract maybe next time. So if we take things like consuming alcohol, for example, we're consuming alcohol recreationally. It's just part of what we do. We have a glass of wine every day. We know that alcohol is a sterilizing agent. Everybody all around the world is using alcohol to sterilize their hands from viruses or bacteria. And so alcohol sterilizes your digestive tract. So you can find that you completely throw your bacteria out of balance when you're consuming alcohol. And if you are going to have a drink, I would avoid it because there's nothing good in alcohol, as much as some studies from France show that the bioflavonoids in wine help protect us against cancer, for example. We now know that, or from heart disease, we know that alcohol encourages cancer in our bodies, and that if you're consuming less than 4 liters or more of alcohol on a monthly basis, which is not a lot, it's 125 ml of glass. It's just one little glass of wine, for example. Your chances of getting breast cancer is increased by 33%. But we're not talking about that tonight. We're talking about the immune system. So alcohol does tend to sterilize the digestive tract, and it affects the urine as well, our urinary tract, by sterilizing it. Throws the bacteria right out of balance. So if you are consuming alcohol, and you might just be manufacturing your own alcohol by mixing proteins and starches at the same meal, but we're not talking about that tonight. We'll talk about that next time. That's just not your food not digesting very well. You'll find that it ferments, and alcohol is one of the byproducts of that. So is ammonia and acetic acid. All three of those things can have a sterilizing effect on your digestive tract and your urinary tract. So it's a good idea to make sure that you are drinking enough water and eating healthy and making sure your food's not fermenting. All right, now defecating and vomiting, that's a way of the immune system getting rid of things. And we spoke about this earlier. You might vomit something out, you might get diarrhea, but in the normal course of the day, you are getting rid of harmful microbes through the digestive tract. Whether it's up or down, either way, it's helping your body get rid of them, okay? So now if the enemy, which could be a virus or a bacteria or a microbe, it doesn't matter what it is, any kind of organism or substance gets past all these more external traps, then defense mechanisms are there and several other systems that are activated to protect the body at cellular level. And these are absolutely fascinating. I had such fun trying to simplify this and make them as easy for you to understand as possible, and also just refreshing myself and looking at saying, oh, I forgot about those ones and I forgot about those. And it's so easy because there's so many of them. But top of that list, the first line of defense inside the body, which is at this point the 8th level of defense. We've already had 7 levels of defense already, and we haven't even got into the cells, okay? Now it's getting into the bloodstream, and our first line of defense there is antibodies. Everybody's heard the name of antibodies. And what they do is they try to stop viruses or microbes getting into the cells. And they're basically like foot soldiers. So now you've had all the ditches and the landmines, and now you get into the body. And here come the foot soldiers. This is the infantry. These are the guys with the guns on their feet, and they're coming out. They're going to nail everybody, and they're going to Antibodies have the most amazing memories for the faces of the enemy. So imagine these foot soldiers being able to all having photographic memories. They can remember the face of the enemy so that if they, for whatever reason, if they're having to hide away or they wound somebody and they see them next time, they'll say, no, I recognize that. It's like they recognize the uniform, the face, all the details of the enemy antibodies. And so antibodies are made and then they look out for those guys and they recognize them straight away. So we need to help our body produce as many antibodies as possible. So viruses can be removed from the body by the antibodies before they get the chance to actually infect a cell. And that's what's very interesting. Antibodies are proteins that specifically recognize invading pathogens, and they bind or stick to them. They actually attach themselves to them. This binding serves many purposes in eradicating the virus. This is basically what it does. Is the antibodies neutralize the virus, meaning that it's no longer capable of infecting the host cell. So it just attaches itself to the virus and neutralizes it. Secondly, antibodies work together. And what they do is they cause virus particles to stick together in a process called, I'm going to say it like this so you can see how it makes sense, agglutination. In other words, stickiness, glue, agglutination. It actually gets the viruses to stick together to form like a mass, because it's easier to take out a mass of viruses, like with a hand grenade, than it is to like individually shoot every single virus. So these antibodies are so smart, they get them to stick together and then they take them out once and for all in one foul swoop. It's pretty amazing. So it makes it an easier target for the immune cells to single viral particles. They can like, hold on a second. That's not just one little virus hiding away. There's a whole lump of them over there. It's easy to, it's a bit like rounding up the baddies in one area and then, and I'll say, blowing them up with one grenade rather than a whole lot of individual bullets. I actually said to Mark tonight, I think we should put an age restriction on this, because with all this violence that's going on, it's just an easier way for me to help you remember this stuff, is that the body is basically like an army, and we need to make that connection and understand that we got this incredible army out there that's doing all of this stuff, and we don't know it does it, and we're not helping it in any way. In fact, very often what happens is we've got this army out there and it's like not being fed properly. They're not getting enough fluid. They're not sleeping properly at night. It's not enough fresh air. And so these soldiers are all lying around and they're tired and they're not working properly. And here comes the enemy to attack the country or the house or the city or whatever it is. And the soldiers can't even get off the floor. They're there, but they're not doing their job because they can't. Nobody's looking after them. So it's very important for us to actually understand this and then know how to make our body actually work. Now, I've got some amazing pictures in this. And unfortunately, we couldn't get the system to activate tonight. You know, gremlins get into equipment and to technology. And so hopefully next time we'll have it. And Mark's going to try and edit it in, so when you watch it back. But what is available tonight is the booklet. And I'll tell you at the end of this how you can get the booklet. Or you can get all my notes with all the pictures in it, okay? So a third mechanism used by the antibodies to eradicate viruses is the activation of something called phagocytes. Now, these phagocytes are spelled P-H-A-G, okay? It's the F sound with the P-H. These are virus-bound antibodies that bind to the receptors, and they're called, gets technical here, okay? But think of these phagocytes like Pac-Man cells. You know, the Pac-Man comes along, and it's that game that the kids used to play on computers years ago, and it gobbles up everything. That's what phagocytes do. Here comes the phagocytes, surrounds the virus and just dissolves it up in there. But basically what it does is, on the surface of the phagocyte cells, there's triggers and this mechanism called phagocytosis. So what happens is the cells engulf it. I've got such a cool picture here. I've got this red Pac-Man. It's actually a scientific picture. It's not something I made up, okay? So what we found is this process of phagocytosis, like surrounding the virus and just gobbling it up. That process increases pretty dramatically. And in some instances and things that I've read, it sometimes says it increases it by 3 times. Other sides, people say it's by 10 times. I think it just depends on what condition the body is. But what we know is that when you fast, now listen carefully, I'm not telling you to all go out there and fast, but when you fast, phagocytosis is increased. Now, phagocytosis doesn't only eat viruses and bacteria, but it breaks down tumors as well. So if you've got a lump somewhere in your body and you want it to go, then you help your body with this process of phagocytosis together with a healthy lifestyle. Potentially fasting is something that could help you. Now, I find this fascinating because when we're sick, we lose our appetite, our sense of smell, our appetite goes. It's forcing us to fast. We don't want to eat, but what do? We say, I'm sick. I've got to keep up my strength. I better eat. And because we don't feel like any food, we go and eat and drink things like hot chocolate and chocolates and jelly. I remember when I had my tonsils removed as a kid, they gave us jelly and ice cream because we didn't feel like eating at all. Now, who wouldn't want jelly and ice cream? It's like, who wouldn't want chocolates when you're sick? It's the worst thing you could do. If you're going to eat anything in the midst of being sick and your poor little immune system, well, it's not a poor little immune system, this amazing immune system really struggling, the best thing to eat is eat the easiest to digest food, that all the nutrients are already broken down. They've got wonderful nutrients in them, these foods, and they require very little energy to digest. And that's the problem with most food. It requires too much energy, and then you just feel sicker after you've eaten. The only food that doesn't make you feel like that is actually fresh fruit. Best thing to eat when you're sick is just fresh fruit, freshly extracted fruit juices, like fresh. Somebody was telling me the other day that she had, her and her husband came down with coronavirus, and she remembered me saying, if you get sick, go onto fruit only. And she said she only felt like oranges and nothing else. So she just ate oranges and drank orange juice. And with 7 days, she'd basically recovered and was feeling pretty amazing. And 2 weeks later, she was in our 365 Q&A asking questions and telling us her story and just saying how amazing it was that her body had recovered so quickly and so efficiently. And she said she was feeling terrible. But as we go through this, you're going to find out why you feel so terrible, because your immune system does things that can make you feel awful to try and force you to stay in that bed. Okay? So we got our little Pac-Man with this phagocytosis and gobbling up all these viruses. And what helps it is fasting or just eating fresh fruit. Okay? So now what antibodies can also do, this is another thing that it does, I think it's the fourth thing, it activates something called the complement system, which does something called opsonizes and promotes phagocytosis of virus, which, in other words, it activates this complement system, and the complement system actually helps the phagocytosis to take place far more efficiently than if it was just left alone. The complement system can also damage the envelope of the virus, which is called a phospholipid bilayer. But really what it means is like the envelope. It's like the covering, the surrounding outside of the virus. That it's present in some kinds of viruses, not all of it. And it's a bit like damaging the army of a soldier and injuring him. So when this complement system comes in and it damages the armor, it weakens the virus. And then it's a lot easier for the immune system to come in and kill that virus. Doesn't matter what a kind of a super virus it is. It doesn't matter when people think it's man-made or from a bat or from a horse or a bird or a cow. It doesn't matter. Your body is designed to actually destroy viruses of any kind. And so these antibodies have got all these systems in place that actually help the body, and this complement system helps to wound and damage the outside layer of the viruses. Right, so the ninth line of defense, which is what we call cytotoxic cells, they're also known as what we know as T cells. Now, everybody knows about T cells. If you've ever heard of the immune system, people will talk about T cell. With something like HIV, they'll talk about the T cells being low. And if it's below a certain point, then what's one of the symptoms that you are HIV positive, for example. So when your immune system starts to work more efficiently, your T cell levels go up. So the higher your T cell levels, the more soldiers you have. They may not be infantry, these T cells. These are more like... what do we think? They could be horse-mounted. They could be in tanks. Who knows? Maybe in an amazing tank, these T cells. Mind you, the killer cells are pretty much like that. It's an amazing army. So what happens is with these T cells, the virus infects you, and you're basically the host. And it hasn't been dealt with by the antibodies. So the antibodies have not been able to stop some of the viruses getting into the cells. And then they invade the cells of the host in order to survive and replicate. So that the virus can only replicate itself when it's inside your cells. So this is absolutely amazing. I mean, when I study the human body like this, there has to be the most amazing designer behind this, because it is so well designed. You can't just think that this just happened all by mistake. It's just too well designed and too well planned. It's just incredible. I mean, we know that a mousetrap is not made by just pieces of metal and a piece of wood falling on the floor. How much more this incredibly well designed system? It's just so amazing. If ever I doubted the fact that it was a creator, you just sit down and study the human body, and it just blows your mind how well the system works. So what happens is, to overcome this, the cells employ a system that allows them to show other cells what's inside them. They use molecules called class 1 major histocompatibility complex proteins. The short version of that is MHC class 1. Now, you don't have to worry too much about this because I'm going to explain to you what actually happens. So what happens is, and this happens so that it can display pieces of the protein from inside the cell upon the cell surface. So little bits and pieces of these viruses actually stick out there. So if the cell is infected with a virus, these pieces of peptide will include fragments of proteins made by the virus, okay? It's such a stunning picture, and it's in the little booklet. So you'll be able to see it if you decide you're going to get the booklet. So this is like the enemy trying to hide by wearing enemy's uniform over his, okay? The virus trying to hide in the cell, trying to pretend it's part of it, but parts of its uniform are sticking out, so they're going to get noticed, and it'll be discovered. So a special cell of the immune system is called the T cell, circulates. So it's circulating, looking for these infections. It's looking for the viruses inside the cell. So it's looking for these signs. So one type of T cell is called a cytotoxic T cell because it kills cells that are infected with viruses and toxic mediators. Cytotoxic cells have specialized proteins on their surface to help them recognize virally infected cells. So they have these special, like, little things that can come along and recognize stuff over here. And when it connects, when you actually look at the diagram, it actually locks onto the cell, and it's able to actually kind of inject what it's called is substance called perforin and cytotoxin to kill the infected cell. So it doesn't just kill the virus, it kills the entire cell. So what amazes me about the body is that the cell that's infected actually does everything it can to try and expose this virus inside there. Sometimes it can't because it's so weak, but it does whatever it can to get there, okay? So it's amazing, actually, that the cell basically offers itself up. It knows it's going to get killed. It offers itself up and says, well, just kill me and get rid of this virus, because I know if I give my life that we were going to save this entire body. So you've got all this going on inside your body. You've got these little martyrs inside your cell, these little cell martyrs going around and saying, oh no, I've been infected by a virus, come and kill me. But let's make sure, and some new research that just came across my desk this week shows that the cells, as they're dying, have got a system in place to protect the cells around them so that they don't get killed in the process. I mean, how incredibly intelligent is that? Your body is doing everything it can to keep you alive at every given moment. It's incredible. And yet what we do as human beings is we have no idea how our bodies work. We just put anything in our mouths. We don't think about what we're doing. And then I'm always amazed when somebody says, why is this happening to me? Why is God letting me get sick? What did I do to deserve this? When we look at it, we actually do a lot to deserve getting sick. We really do. I mean, I'm amazed I didn't die before I was 5 years old. If I think of the amount of white sugar and white bread and white milk I consumed, thinking, just like my mom thought that was good food. And it was only years later that I discovered those things are not ideal. So the 10th line of defense are these natural killer cells, okay? So we've got the T cells doing their thing there and injecting the cytotoxic substance into the cells and killing them. And the cells that are infected helping those T cells find them and to kill them and giving their lives up for the sake of the body. How incredibly, I mean, I think if we ran communities the way our body ran, where everything works together for the good of this body, it would be amazing. We'd live in an amazing society. Incredible. Anyway, so the 10th line of defense, as I said, is the natural killer cells. Now, viruses are highly adaptable, and they've developed ways to avoid detection by T cells. Some viruses stop the MHC molecules, which I mentioned previously, from getting to the cell surface to display the viral peptide. So the uniform is not sticking out. It's all hidden away and tucked away. So some of the viruses are like smart. They try and hide that uniform. If this happens, The T cell doesn't know there's a virus inside the infected cell. However, another immune cell specializing in killing the cells that have a reduced number of MHC class molecules on their surface is the natural killer cells. They're called NK cell for short. Natural killer, that's what it stands for. So, we will look at terminology when we're looking at something like NK cell. I don't know what that is. And it's almost like we switch our head off because we don't understand something instead of looking at, it just stands for natural killer, NK. So when the NK cell finds a cell displaying fewer than normal MHC molecules, it releases toxic substances in a similar way to cytotoxic cells, which kills the virally infected cell. So you've got the T cells looking for cells to kill cells that have got viruses in them, but they can't find them. The natural killer cells come out and kill them. So it's like you've got kamikaze cells that are like dying in the process of exposing the enemy, and then you've got these other soldiers that are what are they, assassins or something? They're like super killers. Anyway, again, beautiful diagrams that I can't show you at all. So now the 11th line of defenses of the cytotoxic is what's called the cytotoxic factors. And these have incredible names like cytokines or kines. Some people refer to them as cytokines. Interferon, a lot of people have heard of interferon. It's used as a treatment, but your body actually makes it for free. Granulism, which is a substance these are all what's called cytotoxic factors. They actually help to kill viruses, bacteria, and microbes, okay? Granzymes, perforin, they make up the cytotoxic factors or mediators. So cytotoxic cells are armed with these preformed mediators. These preformed mediators are like, I call them superheroes, okay? They've all got different skills. So, when you look at the superheroes in the comics, the one can like freeze people and the other one can like burn things and another one can stretch its arms. Well, these cytotoxic cells are basically armed with these preformed mediators, these substances that all do different things. So these cytotoxic factors are stored inside compartments, which these are the superheroes' apartments called granules, in both the cytotoxic T cells and the NK cells. So now over and above what the function of the T cells and the natural killer cells can do, inside them they have these cytotoxic factors stored in compartments. And there's like their bag of tricks or their superheroes that can like bring them out and they can do all kinds of amazing things, okay? So one of the mediators or superheroes is perforin, and it's a protein that can make pores in cell membranes. It can make a hole in it, okay? These pores allow entry of other factors. So it makes a hole, the perforin makes a hole, and then the other factors can get in there, okay? So perforin's skill is to drill the holes or pores into the cell membranes. So the superhero function that it does is make a hole to get the other superheroes in there so it can nail the suckers inside there. So then the granzymes, which is the second superhero, they're also stored and released from the granules. They enter the target cells through the holes made by the perforin. And once inside the target cell, they initiate a process as a pre-programmed or a programmed cell death or apoptosis, causing the target cell to die. So we've got the hole drilled in by the one superpower, and then the other one goes in and that just takes out the cell inside there. So granzymes are what I call the super hitmen. Their skill is to take out or kill the viruses. And maybe, just maybe, they wear black coats, dark glasses too. We gotta try and like make this understandable. And how many of us watch movies like this? And now next time you watch it, you think that's like my immune system, man. Those are like the granzymes. Yeah, they come with their black coats and their dark glasses on. So another cytotoxic factor is the granulism, which is superhero number 3, which directly attacks the outer membrane of the target cells. It doesn't just make a hole in it, it destroys it by a process called lysis. Granulism's skill is to attack the hiding place of the virus like a stealth assassin. So it comes along, it's hiding away in an apartment or in a car or in a spaceship, who knows, and just wipes out that virus's little hiding place. It's fantastic. Cytotoxic cells also newly synthesize and release other proteins called cytokines or cytokines. People pronounce them differently. It's spelled Cytokines, which is superhero number 4, which makes contact with infected cells. Cytokines include interferon G and tumor necrosing factor A. Necrosis factor. Necrosis means death, okay? So these are like some more superheroes coming along, coming to nail these suckers. And it transfers a signal from the T cell to the infected or other neighboring cells to enhance the killing mechanism. Cytokines or cytokines make all the other superheroes more powerful. So if you look, I've got such a nice diagram. You've got the cytokine in the middle, and then you've got all your other cells around there, your macrophages, your granulites, your lymphocytes. These are all mast cells, fibroblasts, endothelial cells, which is in the skin. It makes them all super strong so makes them stronger. So it's like giving them like an infusion of extra energy and extra bullets, and it can just nail the suckers. I mean, this is incredibly well designed. It's unbelievable. When we get to interferon, which is superhero number 5, what this does is a little bit differently. It plays a role in immune protection against viruses, okay? What it does is prevents the replication of the viruses. So by directly, I'm laughing because my comparison here I think is quite funny. Directly interfering with the ability of the viruses to replicate inside the infected cell, because infected cell. The viruses, remember, try and get into the cell so they can multiply inside there. So interferon comes along and says, you're not going to do this. I'm going to nail you. So it stops the replicating process. Now, I've watched one part of a zombie movie. My grandson was watching it some years back, and him and all his friends were talking about this movie, and the zombies were doing this, and the zombies, what are you talking about? And I know these zombies. And I said, but they're not real. They said, I know, but it's fun watching it. So I watched part of one, and I saw these zombies. They literally just replicate and keep making more and more zombies. Viruses are a bit like that. Well, the interferon comes, and it just nails the suckers. They can't multiply. So they stops them multiplying, and then everything else works to help take it out and just destroy it. We want to stop the replication completely. So they also act as signaling molecules that allow the infected cells to warn many cells of a viral presence. So the signal makes the neighboring cells kind of wake up and increase the numbers of MHC. We spoke about that earlier, class 1 molecules upon the surfaces. So the T cells surveying the area can identify and eliminate the viral infection as described above, okay? So interferon's other skill is efficient communication and spying. That's what it does. It helps the T cells locate and annihilate the viruses more efficiently. So interferon is really, really amazing. Stops the replication of the zombies and helps communicate and helps with spying. That's what it does, okay? Definitely part of the communication department of the army is the interferon. Right, so that's kind of at cellular level, all of that stuff. So that's just in the cells. Now we add to that the 12th line of defense, which is the lymphatic system. Now, the lymphatic system, if you look at a diagram of the lymphatic system, it looks very similar to the blood vessels. You've got these little vessels going all over the body, and they go into the brain, and they down here, you've got lymph nodes that can swell up if there's infection. When you've got a lymphatic infection, or what people call glandular fever, it's because your immune system is actually fighting, literally, in that lymphatic system. The lymphatic system is a very integral part of your immune system, and we need to keep it clean, and it gets clogged up by fried fats and heated fats and animal fats, and anything that comes that is heated or from an animal will clog up your lymphatic system. So if you are not well, the worst thing you can do is eat anything fatty. Anything fatty will actually clog up your lymphatic system and not help it to help the immune system. It's part of it. This system protects against invasion of microbes and viruses and bacteria. Now, what the lymphatic system does is it transports and stores what's called lymphocytes. And what lymphocytes are is basically they're white blood cells produced by healthy bone marrow. So we produce white blood cells in our bone marrow. The baby white blood cells, for example, are made strong, and they grow strong in the tonsils, for example, and some people believe also in the appendix. And then what these white blood cells do is they destroy cancer cells, for example, and microbes and viruses and anything by releasing a poisonous substance, or that cytotoxic substance. That cytotoxic means poisonous, okay? Means it's poisonous to the cell. And it also helps, white blood cells also help to produce antibodies. So white blood cells are a very important part of our body. And so it's very important that our lymphatic system is actually very clean, because it helps to transport and store lymphocytes. Now, you can imagine if you're eating a lot of fried foods and animal products and you've got all this fat clogging up your system, your lymphocytes are supposed to be transported around the body. It's a very quick way of getting it. It's like a super fast train. Just get these soldiers to wherever they need to go, or a rocket even. Get them there as quickly as possible and go and nail the suckers, get rid of it. But now your lymphatic system's clogged up. How do you know your lymphatic system is clogged up? You may have swollen glands here, or in your arms, the back of your knees, or in your groin. You may have really bad body odor, and a lot of people can have bad body odor. How do you know you've got bad body odor? Stop using deodorant for at least a week, and then you'll smell your true self. That's coming out of your lymphatic system, okay? So your lymphatic system is, if it's sluggish, it's just not working as well as it should. As I say, your lymph glands are swollen, your body can be sore from that, you might have terrible body odor. So it's important. What the white blood cells basically do is they round up the baddies in various tissues and organs, like the tonsils and the appendix, and then destroy them. So the lymphatic system, at least, rounds up the baddies, the viruses, the bacteria, and stores them in some of the lymph organs, the appendix and the tonsils, and then destroys them with lymphocytes and macrophages. So when our tonsils are really swollen and like they're sore and we can hardly swallow and they're all white and infected, that's because there are so many baddies in there and your body can't deal with them because your lymphatic system is a mess. Even appendicitis. I remember Dr. William Howard Hay and Dr. Herbert Shelton used to deal with people that had appendicitis by fasting them and packing the appendix area with ice. No food in the body, let the lymphatic system sort it out. And I've read on several issues, and I remember my grandson, when he was about 17 or 18, he got appendicitis. And I said, well, boy, you got two things we can do here. You can go to hospital and have your appendix taken out, or you can fast and we'll pack ice on it. He said, no, I'm fasting and packing ice. And we did that. And it was literally the pain had been going on for a couple of days and he hadn't told me at this point. And he was very tender to the touch. And we packed with ice. He didn't eat. And it was literally 3 or 4 hours that the pain started to subside. And I said, you've got to be completely gone and you'll be completely well. He had bad breath. He had a fever. And so he just literally didn't eat. He fasted, drank water, and I gave him barley life, the barley grass juice. I gave him that. And he had carrot juice as well. And that's basically what he had, diluted. He wasn't hungry. He had no appetite. And literally within 2 to 3 days, he was up and ready to go. And he learned his lesson because he'd been eating huge amounts of dairy products because his friends were eating it. So he thought he was okay doing that. But what happens is you end up having to have body parts removed. That's the traditional way of dealing with it. Let's take part of the lymphatic system out, part of the immune system out, because it's inflamed and in pain, as opposed to let's allow the body to repair itself. Now, I'm not telling you to be irresponsible and not go to doctors. There are doctors who will work with you and allow your body to repair itself. You can find them by asking the right questions. I'd like my body to repair itself. Will you hold my hand and monitor me through this? There are many doctors who will do that. They just don't do it because most people just want the medication or the surgery, which is sad because once you've affected, like I don't have my tonsils, they were taken out when I was 4 years old. I don't have them. So if ever I'm going to have an area that's going to be my weak spot, it's going to be I'm going to get maybe a sore throat because the tonsils are not there to actually help take all these baddies and just nail them in there. So I have to eat very carefully most of the time. I eat incredibly carefully, and that's how I've stayed well for over 30 years. Whereas previously to that, I was sick all the time with something or other, and especially my throat area and my lungs. So the lymph nodes, the tonsils, the appendix, the spleen, and the thymus gland all play a role in the system, that lymphatic system. So all these different parts, your tonsils are up here, the back of your throat, your appendix in your groin, your spleen in the where the internal organs, and your thymus gland, which is this big gland behind the breastbone, the sternum. They're all part of this. They grow baby white blood cells to big soldiers, It's like the training camp. That's like the training division. The lymphatic system is also part of that. So the lymphatic system would be, as I said, another division, and we call it the transport, assassination, and training division. That's what I would call it. Where are we? And the 13th line of defense, inflammation. Now, who would have thought that inflammation is part of the immune system? And what this does is it confines and destroys microbes and repairs tissues. And we all know this. If you cut your finger initially, it gets inflamed. And then the inflammation is there for 2 or 3 days more if we're not looking after it properly. And the best thing to do is just put a Band-Aid on it and just keep it covered and keep it clean. You don't have to sterilize it. Your body has a way of dealing with it. If you want to, salt water would be the quickest, or an aloe first aid spray works fantastically. You spray aloe on, and then you put a Band-Aid on that, and you keep it covered. Don't wet it, keep it covered. And usually 2 or 3 days later, you take the Band-Aid off and your finger's healed itself. Miracle of miracles, and all the inflammation's gone. If you don't put the Band-Aid on, microbes get inside there. You keep banging it, and it keeps opening the wound again. So you just shut it. Okay, that's what you do, and your body repairs itself. But the first part of that's inflammation, and it's sore and it's tender. So we know what inflammation is. So when we have inflammation inside our body, we're like, oh, I've got inflammation in my knee, in my hip, in my joint. I need to take an anti-inflammatory. You actually make natural anti-inflammatories. Your adrenal glands make natural anti-inflammatories if your diet is good. So if we're eating a diet that contains natural essential fatty acids, particularly omega-3s from plant sources, because they have not been processed and heated and they don't go rancid, that easily fish oil goes rancid within 2 hours of the fish dying. And of course, your fish oil also contains a lot of cholesterol and may contain some mercury because it's found in the sea and all kinds of things. So we use plant-based oils are better. It also contains the parent oil, ALA, alpha-linolenic acid. And so we need essential fatty acids for the adrenal glands to make natural anti-inflammatories. But you need to understand how carefully this works. Inflammation confines and destroys microbes and repairs tissues. That's what it does. So the body is starting to heat things up and increase the blood flow. That's what's basically happening. Your body feels hot when there's inflammation, like your finger feels hot. And if there's inflammation inside the body, you can find some people say that they've got gout and their knees or part of their body actually feels hot. So the body's starting to heat things up and increase the blood flow to that place to bring more nutrients, to bring more soldiers, to bring more cytotoxic substances, whatever it needs to fix that problem, okay? But the problem is that this doesn't feel very good. Inflammation inside the body can feel really bad. If you've ever had really bad flu, and people that have had corona as well have the same thing as you have with bad flu, you get those sore muscles, your bones are sore, everything's just hurting. Your teeth feel sore, that's inflammation. The body's like just putting you in a state of inflammation. And it can cause pain and discomfort. It's ideal to try and go through that naturally, and I would take something like Composure, which is a combination of natural herbs, which is a natural painkiller that calms the body down without stopping the healing process. If you're going to take massive anti-inflammatories and you're taking painkillers, you're actually stopping the body from repairing itself. Because by heating the body up, you start killing these microbes and viruses and bacteria. That's what's happening. So when you get this, you don't feel great. Your body's actually protecting you, and it indicates that your immune system is working when you get this feeling of aching and feeling like, I'm not feeling great, I'm feeling sick, and you want everybody to feel sorry for you. And the 14th line of defense is actually having a fever or a temperature. And very often, again, we panic, like, oh, I've got a temperature, I've got to get it down. But in fact, your body makes something called these natural pyrogens, which is connected to the word pyromaniac, and pyromaniac is somebody who loves fire. Pyrogens are actually substances in the body that actually push the body's temperature up. And it does that so it can destroy viruses and bacteria and microbes and pathogens. Heat destroys viruses. We know that if you go into the sun, for example, it's 15 minutes in the sun, you can destroy viruses. They just cannot handle if they're on your skin. So sun is a natural external way to actually help protect our body. But internally, what the body does is increase the body temperature. The danger comes with the temperature is if you keep taking painkillers and anti-inflammatories, and now you're taking something to bring the temperature down, your body is trying to fight the enemy. Now it's fighting another enemy. These drugs are coming in and stopping the body from healing itself. So now it has to actually deal with all of the stuff that's going on here. And it stops doing what it's doing and trying to protect the body and starts trying to deal with these drugs and just pushes the body temperature up higher into the danger zone. If you allow the body to just have a temperature naturally without trying to control it with medication, and you just losing your appetite, lying down, keeping yourself cool, keeping yourself hydrated, that temperature won't go into a danger zone. It never does. But when you put medication in, your body says, hold on, let's push the temperature up even more. We're under more attack. There's more bad guys coming out, and we don't know how to handle this stuff. Push the temperature up, and that's when you go into the danger zone. So very often you're told you've got to bring the temperature down, you've got to take this medication, otherwise you're going to suffer from brain damage. But very often the very fact that we're interfering in the process, the best thing you can do with the temperature is lots of fluids. If the person can't drink, put ice in their mouth and let them suck on that. Keep them cool, but don't go and put them in a cold bath, because the heat is what's killing the virus and the bacteria. Just keep them cool. So if they want to kick their blankets off and they don't want to wear woolly pajamas, then allow them to do that. But it's not always a smart idea to plunge a fevered body straight into a bath. You need to read up a lot more about it. In my book, Healthy Kids, I cover it in great detail, exactly how to deal with temperatures, for example, in children. And the interesting thing is, when I saw my grandson Stephen had the temperature he had appendicitis, the temperature was just, it got to a point and it wouldn't go any further than what was at the safe level. It was at about 48 and a half, 49, not even there, 48, not 48. What's your body temperature normally? It's 37. So it went to 38, 39 maximum. Going over 40 is what's considered dangerous. So it was sitting at about 38, 38 and a half, 39, but it just hovered and came down, hovered and came down. And the body, I've watched this with my own children when I saw them growing up. It goes up and then comes down, goes up and down, up and down. It stays there, days. It could be 3 or 4 hours, and then suddenly it comes down. And in the time that the temperature is high, that person will be quite delirious sometimes. They'll just be lying there, not able to even talk. And that's when people panic. But that's the best thing for the body to do, is to be in a place where the body can actually deal with the stuff, because it's designed to do it. Now, it's irresponsible to do that if you're feeding a kid ice cream and you're drinking things like colas and coffee and alcohol to try and keep yourself hydrated, and you've got a temperature. Just go to the doctor and go and have medication and go to hospital, because you're just not allowing the body to repair itself at all. If you know that this is how the body works and you feel confident with it, and you're treating body with the kindness and respect it needs, body won't push the temperature up beyond a certain point. I've seen it too many times now. Okay. So fever, very important part to do. Now, the interesting thing is, when we get a fever, it inhibits bacterial growth. It stimulates that process called phagocytosis, where the Pac-Man comes along and gobbles up the viruses and bacteria. That's what fever does. It speeds up the repair of tissues by taking more blood to the tissues where it's needed, and more nutrients as well. It causes the liver and spleen to store iron, taking it out of the bloodstream. The temperature sends a message to the spleen and the liver, said, take the iron out of the bloodstream, because when you do that, you reduce the oxygen levels. Because bacteria are what we call aerobic. They survive on lots of oxygen. And so if your body takes the iron out of the bloodstream, puts it into storage in the spleen and the liver, then there isn't that much oxygen around for the bacteria to feed on. And so what happens, the bacteria just can't multiply and dies. But what happens to you when your body's taken out of the bloodstream, you get very pale in your face. You get white and pale, and you've got no energy because there isn't much oxygen in the cells, because there's not a lot of red blood cells there. You've taken all the iron out, or most of it out. There's just enough to keep you alive and put you in bed. You've got no energy, and the iron's hidden away. And when your body gets well, and the bacteria, so in a bacterial infection, very often the body will take all, as I say, the iron out of the bloodstream and hide it away in the liver and the spleen, and then you'll be very tired, and that's forcing you to sleep. And when you're well, then the iron comes back into gets released back into the bloodstream, and everybody says, oh gosh, you got your color back, you're looking so much better. That's just a normal process, part of the immune system healing itself, repairing itself, looking after itself. Okay, so your body is literally this incredible walking miracle. It's supremely intelligent. It's capable of computing information faster than anything else. It's just like, okay, take those cells there, do this, go there, do this, release that. All of this stuff's going on, and you are not aware of it at all, other than you feeling terrible. You may be sore and in pain, and you just don't feel like eating, and your head is pounding, and you're feeling terrible, and you're convinced you're dying. So it's this incredible, incredible system. We need to work with it, okay? It's like the best trained army in the world. I mean, we talk about it as an army, but it's incredibly well trained. But if we don't look after it, well, then we're going to be in trouble. You know, our army, our soldiers are sitting taking drugs and drinking alcohol and smoking cigarettes and not eating properly. They're not able to do their job, okay? That's what happens. If you want it to work properly, you've got to look after it. So when we talk about people having previously existing comorbidities that make them more susceptible to viruses and bacteria and illness, for example, they usually are on several different kinds of medication. They very often are overweight. They've got an existing condition like diabetes, cancer, heart disease, high blood pressure, autoimmune diseases, and that's because the immune system's in trouble. The body's in trouble, basically. And what we do is when we treat the body with medication, we actually treating the symptom and not the cause. And what we need to be looking is for the cause. I always say look for the cause, get your diet right, get your exercise right, get your lifestyle diet. You use medication as a final resort, well, surgery as an absolute final resort. But most people do is they'll take the medication, have the surgery, and then they'll change their diet because it doesn't go away. Medication doesn't go away. It just dampens the symptoms, makes them less. You still have that problem. And then you have side effects from the medication, so you take more medication. I am not anti-doctors at all. My daughter was in a very severe car accident where she broke 2 vertebrae in her neck, and she had to have hip taken out of her hip, a bone taken out of her hip to replace the broken vertebrae in her neck and a plate and a screw and everything else, and now she can walk around and her body's working. Had she not had surgery and had there not been doctors and medicine to see her through that, she would probably have died or been paralyzed. So I'm very grateful to medical science. I believe in medical science. It can help us a lot. But I don't believe in interfering with the immune system. And I believe in actually helping the immune system to work properly first. You do need to interfere in the immune system when it's not working properly because you're on several different kinds of medication, you're eating really badly, you don't exercise, you don't get fresh air, sunlight. Well, then you're just going to have to take what comes your way. And the poor old doctors have to try and fix you. And then we complain and say they can't fix me. But you don't want to look after yourself. You have to look after yourself. This is what's important. Your army is just going to be too sick to do anything to actually help you, okay? I mean, we understand it with gardening, for example. If I want to grow healthy vegetables, I've got to feed the soil. I've got to make sure that there's compost and manure and all kinds of things. And I put a bit of clay in because clay is very concentrated in nutrients. And so there's all these things you do to the soil, and then you get healthy vegetables and the bugs don't eat them. People do it with their roses, for goodness sake. They feed the soil so the roses are healthy. And the interesting thing is, I live in a wine farming region, and the farmers grow these roses at the end of the vines, or the row of vines in the vineyards. And they can look and see if the roses aren't healthy, then they know there's something wrong with the soil straight away and they can fix it. Because the roses can tell you something go wrong with the leaves. And so there's all this science around feeding the roses so that they can check that they're feeding the vineyards so that we can grow some grapes. So they can press them and make wine and make people sterilize their digestive tracts and make themselves ill. It doesn't make any sense, does it? But we'll do it with roses. We'll do it with a lawn. Oh, my word. Have I seen people dress their lawns, feed their lawns, and then they go inside and put junk into their bodies? I don't get that part of it. But if you understand that we've got to feed plants to build their immune systems, a healthy plant has a healthy immune system, and the bugs and the beetles don't eat it, and they doesn't get diseases. And we get this. We totally get it with plants. But when it comes to our bodies, we just like, well, what's diet got to do with anything? If I'm hungry, I eat anything, and then I'm fine. I keep going. If you feed your body properly, you got healthy soil, healthy lawn, healthy roses, healthy vegetables. That's how we do it. We feed the soil properly. We feed our bodies properly. It's not just diet. We're going to look at what else it is, okay? So a healthy immune system depends on a healthy endocrine system. Your endocrine system controls the entire immune system together with your brain and central nervous system. I explained in the beginning that the pituitary gland, which is the head of the endocrine system, is connected to the hypothalamus, which is the managing director or CEO of the brain and central nervous system. And they connect with each other, and they're feeding. There's this biofeedback going backwards and forwards. Anything affecting the brain and central nervous system like chronic stress, for example, can affect the endocrine system, and the endocrine system's affected and not working properly. The immune system won't work as well as it should. I've had a couple of people who followed a healthy diet have come around with coronaviruses, and they've said to me, why am I getting this? I said, have you been under a lot of stress? Yes, I have. I haven't been sleeping. There's been a huge amount of stress. There's stuff going on. My mom's very sick. My husband's lost his job. There's just the stress going on. And if we don't manage our stress properly, which is what we go into in a lot of detail on our 365 program, we teach you how to manage your stress very well. But if you're not managing that properly, even on a healthy diet, you could still get sick, because stress affects the endocrine system affects the immune system. So as much as your soldiers are pretty strong and they're getting enough nutrients, they've been weakened because things at the head office are not working as well as it can. So the instructions coming from the head office and from the, let's say, the guy at the top, the big general of the army is not working properly. He's had a couple of days off, and he keeps having to have a couple of days off, not working so well. So although the soldiers are all working properly, that information is not coming through the way it should. So you could still get sick. But also when we change our diet, you don't just everything works better. But the good news is what we do know is that when we looked at research by Drs. Chandra and Chowdhury, which was published many, many years ago, it showed that when people changed their diets to eat a high whole food plant-based diet, that they could increase their white blood cell count by between 5 and 15 days. So if you are sick, for example, and you start eating properly, like I said, go on to fruit, for example, if you've got a temperature and you're not feeling great, you could actually find within most people 7 to 14 days, which is the 5, fits into the 5 to 15 days, that your immune system has done its thing and you've repaired and you've actually recovered, and you're pretty amazed that your body's recovered and you've done very well without any medical interference at that point. And what these same doctors found is that the symptoms evident in malnourished people closely resembled the symptoms of immunodeficiency. So they thought there's a problem here. We've got very poor people that have immune systems not working properly because they don't get enough to eat. And we've got people who are well off and westernized cultures, but they're suffering from immunodeficiency. So basically they concluded that malnourished people and those with immunodeficiency should be approached the same way, because basically what you got, although you might be eating lots of food, it's just the wrong kind of food and it's not feeding your immune system. You're actually malnourished. You're getting in lots of calories, but you're not getting enough of the right nutrients to help feed your immune system. So malnourishment is normally meant to not taking in enough food, but it can be the result of not eating the foods and the nutrients adequate and necessary for healthy cell development. So in their words, they say we can be feasting on an abundance of food and yet suffer from malnutrition if our diet lacks the nutrients required for healthy cell development, or contains artificial ingredients which cannot be processed by our bodies. Artificial things like colorants and artificial flavorants and preservatives, any additive that we've gone and put into food to make it a bright color, change the way it tastes, put emulsifiers in to change the mouthfeel so that we become more addicted, put flavor enhancers like MSG into it, so we eat more of it so that the people that made it can make more money from us because we're eating way more than what we need, okay? So we can, as I said, decrease our white blood cells, and our T cells can increase between 5 and 15 days of changing our diet. Now, this is basically what the 365 program that we have does for you. It helps you get your body to a place where it defends itself all the time, just like it does in healthy people like ourselves who haven't had a doctor's bill for the last 30 years. So you might still get cold or flu or succumb to coronavirus, but it'll be very mild. They found, for example, some recent study published as well, showed that people that are eating a whole food plant-based diet have a 73% lesser chance of either contracting it or having lesser symptoms. So your symptoms will be much less, which is a very high factor. And so people always say to me, are you anti-vax? And I know that's a question that's going to come in. I'm not anti-vax. I'm pro the immune system. I take my risks with my immune system rather. I'd rather protect my body naturally by working with my body than against my body, and then potentially having, and I know several people, just last night I was told by one of my best friends that her sister had had the first vaccine and had come down with a really bad version of corona. She thought she was going to die. And she didn't have any idea that there were side effects. Now, not everybody reacts like that. Some people have no reaction at all. Some get blood clotting. These are known side effects. Some get myocarditis, which is inflammation of the heart. Especially the younger people, young men particularly, are prone to myocarditis and the blood clotting. But anybody can get sick from a vaccine, and they can actually get the condition or the disease. There are people that have died from it. And I'm not going to give you a whole lot of conspiracy theories and say everybody's dying from it, because not everybody is. My brother couldn't work in the UK without getting vaccinated. He's alive and walking around. He eats very well. He does the best that he can. I hope in time that nothing else happens. There does seem to be some long-term indication that there's potentially some long-term problems. But at this point in time, we don't know. The vaccines weren't tested enough. That we do know. I'm not trying to discourage people from doing it. I myself, I'm going to make sure my immune system works as best as it can. If you're not prepared to take that risk because you don't feel comfortable with it, it's entirely up to you whether you want to vaccinate or not. It's not me saying you must or mustn't. I am pro the immune system. And so I'm helping you to help your immune system work properly. And even if you have been vaccinated or you decide you're going to vaccinate, at least make sure your immune system is working really well, because, if the virus mutates, and it is, we've been alpha and beta and gamma and delta, and I believe there's a zeta as well version. What are you going to do? Keep having a vaccine every time a new variant comes out, which is a new mutation? But that's your choice again. So I'm not going to go into all kinds of information and scare you about things. There are side effects of any medication. And even the forms that we were given for our teachers at our school, if they get vaccinated, on the form for them to sign is acknowledging that they do know that there are potential side effects, and that they do know that there's no guarantee that they won't get the coronavirus. You have no guarantee. You can still get it. I'd rather make sure my body is doing its best to protect itself. And as I said, that's a choice I make. And if I do that and you're all vaccinated, then you've got nothing to worry about if you think that's going to protect you. But I think whatever your decision is, you need to look after your immune system. You really do. You've got to look after it. We only have one body and one immune system. We've got to look after it, okay? All right. So how do we maintain this healthy immune system, okay? The first line of defense when we come to our immune system is our diet. It's what we put into our mouths. It's what we eat. It's straight away. We've seen that the same symptoms that are evident in malnourished people closely resemble immunodeficiency. So this means that malnourished people and those with an immune deficiency should be approached in the same way. Finding a cure in the form of a drug or a vaccine, for example, it's like trying to find a cure for malnutrition. People don't find a cure for malnutrition. You've got to eat properly. You have to eat properly. So the first line of defense is make sure your diet is right. So what diet do we follow, okay? The best diet we know to follow, according to the scientists, according to the blue zones, for example, according to people like Dr. Colin Campbell, actual science, real live people. If you look at the blue zones, there are 5 of them around the world, areas in Costa Rica, Sardinia in Italy, Costa Rica, Okinawa in Japan, and Loma Linda in Southern California. What are the common denominators? They all believe in a higher power. They all live in community. They're connected to other people, but they all follow a high whole food plant-based diet. They're not necessarily all vegan. The people that do eat animal protein eat very little of it. It's actually a condiment or a flavoring to the meal. So, for example, in Okinawa in Japan, if they're eating a meal and there's sardine in it, there's one sardine about that size, and it's shared amongst 12 people, sort of flaked into their rice and their vegetables. So it's not a fanatical thing, but it's definitely a whole food plant-based diet. These people have the longest living, healthiest communities in the world. We look at the studies done by Professor Colin Campbell. He's a doctor and a professor emeritus at Cornell University, who over 300 to 400 studies in sort of a 30-year period involving over 1 million people found that the best way to stay healthy and to get healthy is to follow a whole food plant-based diet. Dr. Colin Campbell says the only diet they've seen where people recover completely from heart disease, cancer, diabetes, arthritis, gout, allergies, hay fever, just a long list of diseases is a whole food plant-based diet. So the very thing that keeps you healthy is the very thing that's going to help you recover and get your body well. And I know that Mark and I, we ate a lot of animal products growing up, and dairy and cheese. And my husband helped to open the first fried chicken franchise in the country in the 1970s. And he thought chicken was pretty much a vegetable, and that he'd rather eat red meat. So it's not like we've been like this our whole lives, but we had health issues. And when we became whole food and plant-based, our body started to work properly. My daughter today, who's 42, said to me, "Mom, the best thing that you did was actually give me this incredible inheritance that I have in my body. You actually gave me a body that works properly." And she said, I'm kind of a bit careless. She eats 80% well all the time. But she's 42 now, and she started saying, because I've got the solid foundation, I actually need to look after myself even more carefully. She's now sort of saying, okay, I'm going whole hog. I'm going all the way. And that was an amazing thing, because at 42, she's just like, you gave me this incredible thing. And as I said earlier on, we can have all the money and all the knowledge in the world, but if we don't have our health, what have we actually got? Because you're feeling terrible, you're in pain all the time, you can't function properly, your brain's not working properly. And even if it is working properly, your body is not functioning the way it should. So, how should we be eating? We know that the immune system needs antioxidants, for example. We know those antioxidants are vitamins A, C, E, selenium. Should we be taking supplements containing them? No, because if we look at the actual nutritional profile of people who are healthy, like in the blue zones, not any of them, none of those communities take supplements. They eat whole, natural foods. Supplements are taken in countries, westernized countries around the world. The United States of America consumes more supplements than any other country in the world. They have the most heart disease, the most diabetes, the most cancer. And so if you are wanting to take a supplement, or you want something to help you, I'd say go and invest in a really good juice extractor. Grow your own barley grass, because that's the most nutritious of the green vegetables, barley grass. Make your own barley grass juice freshly every day. Make your own organic carrot juice every day, and your own beet juice every day. I don't always have the time or the inclination to do all of that. So I use Barley Life, Omega, and just carrots. Omega is the essential fatty acid. Sorry, Barley Life, ready beets, and just carrots. They dried carrot juice, dried beets, dried barley grass juice. And I take that juice every day with my husband, Mark, and I. We mix the three of them together, and we take them with our omegas to get our essential fatty acids, because we know that essential fatty acids are also part of the way the immune system and the lymphatic system works. So it's important that we're taking those, okay? So we've got to get our diet right on several levels. But we shouldn't be taking supplementation, because we know supplementation does not reduce the amount of heart disease, cancer, diabetes. The United States have got the highest levels of death by coronavirus if you're taking it on a percentage level. Everybody else is below them percentage-wise, and yet they consume the most supplements in the world. I said, if you want to take supplements, do your own juices or get the dried juices. They're just fresh juices that have been dried. They're making it, it's convenience. There's no secret recipe. That's how it's done. As they cut it at night so that the antioxidants aren't destroyed, they extract the juice in the harvesting machine and chill it. They take the machine, they've chilled the juice to the factory, and they spray dry it at room temperature, and that's basically what you're getting. Stabilized with a little bit of brown rice. They add a little bit of kelp to make sure that you're getting a bit of iodine, and it works fantastically. Speak to the person that invited you tonight. They'll be able to tell you where you can get those things at the wholesale price. Don't pay full price for anything. It's always best to get the reduced special price, okay? So things that can suppress the immune system is too much fat in the diet, like polyunsaturated fats. Very often we'll use spreads that have got highly heated fats. We'll eat fried foods that have been fried in sunflower oil and soy oil and peanut oil. All those fats taken into the lymphatic system affect it and slow it down, okay? Cholesterol in your diet, you make cholesterol in your liver, but if you take it in your diet, what it does, it's also included in marine shortening. Marine shortening is fish oil that's in chocolates. A lot of chocolates and candies have got marine shortening in them, which is basically from the whaling industry or from the fishing industry. What it does is it lowers the immune response So if you have any immune problems or you want your immune system to work properly, you've got an autoimmune problem, you would do well removing cholesterol in products out of your diet. Everything that comes from an animal, whether it's cheese, yogurt, milk, fish, chicken, it doesn't matter where it comes from, all animals contain cholesterol because all animals have a liver. The liver makes cholesterol. And I have a liver and I make cholesterol. And we need cholesterol for your brain to work properly, for your immune system, for each cell in your body to make the membrane around the cell that's made from cholesterol. All your hormones, there's dozens of hormones in the body, including testosterone, progesterone, and estrogen, are made from cholesterol in your body. Your body needs omega-3s from plant sources to transport cholesterol out of the bloodstream to the cells where we need it. If you don't have omega-3s in your diet, your immune system can't work properly because those hormones that are made from cholesterol are all chemicals needed by the endocrine system to help the whole body, including the immune system, work efficiently. So it's very important that you get omega-3s in your diet. There are sources of them. You get a little bit in avocados and nuts and seeds, but with the amount of stress and pollution we live in the world we live in, we need a little bit more of essential omega-3s. Omega-6s are easy to get hold of. You get them in avocados, nuts, and seeds, but you want a perfectly balanced omega-3 to 6 ratio that actually works, whether it's for your immune system or autism or brain not working properly or hormonal system not working properly. Omega and the barley life juice are the two things together that I encourage everybody to take because they really help that pituitary gland, the managing director or the CEO of the endocrine system, which controls the way the immune system functions, to work properly. So it's important that you've got a good source of natural fats. You take out the processed, the heated, the animal fats, because remember, they clog up the lymphatic system, and the lymphatic system needs to work properly so it can transport all your soldiers all around the body really, really quickly. And that's very important, okay? We know that when women don't eat well in pregnancy, for example, that the immune system is suppressed in the child. So it's very important to eat well, eat a whole food diet, high in plant sources, no preservatives, additives, natural foods. There's no excuse in the world we live in today because there are organic markets. People are growing their own vegetables. You can grow tomatoes on your windowsill if you have to. Your own parsley or arugula or rocket or sweet basil can be grown on your windowsill. Try and grow what you can, buy what you can organically, and do the best with what the rest of it is. I don't eat a fully organic diet. I've been doing the best I can for the last 35 years. At the end of the day, if I ate only organic fruit and vegetables in the country I live in, I'd starve to death. I really would. There's just not enough. But I have learned to grow my own vegetables at home so I can get vegetables out of the garden. Other diseases that are associated with immune deficiency are cancer, arthritis, lupus, amyloidosis, and other autoimmune diseases. Right, we know that fasting, I mentioned this earlier, increases phagocytosis, so it's important to work towards being able to fast. Okay, now on the 365, we have 14 different detox programs. Some of them help you to fast. We also have the 30-day detox over and above that, so it's 15 detox programs that actually help you to give your body a break so it can clean itself. We have a lymphatic cleansing program that you can clean out, help the body to clean out the lymphatic system with the use of a combination of different herbs. Fantastic product called Herbal Release, combination of herbs that just helps the lymphatic system to clean itself out really efficiently. You do have some terrible body odor coming out of the body in that first week, but it's worth it because your lymphatic system just starts to work properly, and it's amazing to have your body working properly. So if you want to know how to fast, you want to know how to allow your body to repair itself efficiently during a detox program, and I say detox in inverted commas because your body's detoxifying all the time. It's just not doing so very efficiently. We detoxify through our skin, we detoxify through our bowels, through our bladder, through our lungs, we cough up stuff, but you don't do it very efficiently if your immune system and your body is not working as well as it should, okay? So the 365 program helps you get your body to a place where it works properly all the time and you get to that sweet spot where nothing's wrong, everything's working, you're happy when you wake up, you're happy when you go to bed, Your ears are working properly, your eyes are working properly, you're sleeping fantastically, you wake up recharged, your bowels work properly. It's an amazing place to live at. I can tell you, Mark and I are stronger, fitter, and healthier than we were when we were 20, and we're both in our 60s. We feel incredible. I don't know how I'm going to feel when I'm 80 because I even feel better than I was when I was 40. It's just like it's better and better and better. It's incredible. And I know one day I'm going to die, but I'm going to die with my brain, my bladder, and my bowels intact. That's a good death. I want to know my body's working properly until the end. I need to know that it's a good way to go. Everything working, okay. So, okay, I don't really need those. We need to know how to encourage our body to repair itself, okay. We know that raw fruit and vegetables encourage to bring in high levels of antioxidants, which stops damage done by free radicals. Free radicals are basically just electrons out of control and out of balance from foods and substances we're putting into our bodies. That's not only affecting our immune system, but just about everything in our body, from your skin to your nails to your hair, okay? So when you go on a high, raw, whole food, plant-based diet, and our program, the 365 program, actually helps you get to that very easily. By the end of the first 31 days, you're already on a 75% alkaline forming diet, high raw, and you feel the difference. In fact, I've had people say to me in the first week, their energy levels have gone up. And that's just by doing one simple little thing, eating raw food before you eat your cooked food, which is one of the 5 steps you get on day 17, for example. So it's an amazing program to go on, and it just helps you. It makes it so easy to actually get your immune system working properly. And you've got a track to run on. You know what you're doing, you know where you're going, and it's so easy. You get emailed every day. You get a little assignment. You've got to, it's little things that you've got to do. Just write down what you ate in the last 24 hours and then circle the things that are alkaline forming so you can see where your acid alkaline balance is. Easy peasy stuff to do. Very encouraging and very inspiring, okay? So we need to be eating a lot of fruit and vegetables. We teach you how to get them into your diet with recipes. You've got at least the 5 recipe books that you'll have by the end of the year, with hundreds of recipes basically. And the recipes are quick and easy, and they are easy to make anywhere in the world. I've traveled all over the world, in UK, the United States, South Africa. So I know the terminology of all the things that you need in any country. And so, it's arugula in the United States, it'll be rocket in South Africa, and probably in some of Europe. So it's different names and terminology, but the recipes are easy. 15 minutes, they're either in the pot or in the oven or on the table. I don't have time, and I don't think most people have time to spend hours preparing healthy meals. They should be quick and easy. The less you do to your food, the healthier it is anyway. Easy combination of herbs and spices, easy peasy stuff. You don't need to know how to cook to eat healthy. Don't let that ever be your excuse, because healthy eating requires less cooking, not more. And that's the best thing. Less dishes to wash, less mess to make, everything's less, okay? Refined sugar and carbohydrates and the foods that contain them will affect your blood sugar. And when your blood sugar is all over the place, your immune system can't work properly. Your immune system needs very stable blood sugar. So it's very important to stabilize your blood sugar with fresh fruit and vegetables. Fresh fruit contains glucose that stabilizes your blood sugar. It contains fiber that stabilizes your blood pressure. It contains antioxidants, minerals, and vitamins in the right form. If you take vitamin C in supplement form, that's considered the safest supplement to take. It can cause gout, arthritis, stomach ulcers, osteoporosis, and kidney stones. And that's the safest one to take. If you take vitamin C, and that's because it's so easy to overdose in supplements, you're only needing somewhere around 100 to 150 or 160 milligrams a day. When you're taking supplements, you're taking 500 minimum. Most people are taking 1,000 or 2,000 milligrams in supplementation. That's way over what you need. Your body can't handle that. If you're eating food with vitamin C in it and you eat too much, your tongue gets sore, your mouth gets sensitive, and you can't eat any more tomatoes or strawberries or pineapples, for example. So your body has a way of telling you, stop, I've got enough vitamin C. But if you're not getting enough vitamin C, you'll start craving oranges and, mandarins and pineapples and strawberries, you'll just start craving them. But the minute you're getting too much, your tongue gets sensitive and stops. And you sometimes think, why can I sometimes eat a whole pineapple and other times I can have one piece and my body's saying don't eat it? Because your body's telling you it has enough. And one of the things you learn is how to listen to your body. Most people have no clue how to listen to their body. So you learn how to listen to your body. When you're craving sweet things, you're probably needing more fresh fruit in your diet or some preservative-free dried fruit. If you're craving salty food, you're usually craving essential fatty acids. If you're craving sour things, it might be a lack of minerals in the body. There's different foods that you eat to satisfy your body when it's needing certain nutrients. So we need to stabilize our blood sugar, and the only way they're going to do that is in a whole food plant-based diet that includes fresh fruit. Diets that exclude fresh fruit are not going to help your immune system work properly. Fruit's one of the most reliable sources of vitamins for us and antioxidants. Vegetables do too, but vegetables contain more minerals. All right, processed foods. These are foods that are deficient in basic nutrients. White flour, white sugar, white bread. The average person is eating 80% of their food today is highly processed, the average person. 60 to 70 years ago, only 10% of our food was that processed. So when we talk about our grandfather and how he eats anything he wants to, and he's lived to 92 and everything's still working, we don't take into account the fact that 60 to 70 years ago, he was in his 20s or 30s, and he was eating incredibly well. Only 10% of his food was highly processed. Today, that's like 80% of our food is highly processed. It's very, very different, okay? We need to be eating whole foods, intact, the way they were originally found. That's brown rice and whole wheat bread and apples with the skins on them and grapes with the seeds inside them. I know some people don't want to eat the seeds. Well, you don't have to eat the seed, but at least eat the skins. That natural insoluble fiber is needed for the bowels, as is the soluble fiber. Caffeine. This is a big one. Caffeine containing foods and beverages, from green tea to raw cacao, organic chocolate. Everybody's like running around doing this organic thing. It all contains caffeine, and caffeine is a stimulant that upsets the central nervous system and the brain. Your central nervous system and your brain are sending messages to the immune system on how to work. But if they're firing too rapidly, you can end up with autoimmune diseases and weird things going on in the body because you're simply not allowing your brain and central nervous system to work the way it should, because you insist on putting this caffeine in. And some people are like, I can't give it up. Well, do it slowly. Wean yourself off it slowly. Take a year to get off the caffeine if you have to. Instead of having 6 cups of coffee a day, every second one can be decaf. Or mix 50% decaf with 50% normal coffee. Or eat only 1 square of chocolate instead of 3 squares on a daily basis, and start to wean yourself off. When you come off caffeine, suddenly you get headaches, you can feel nauseous, you can feel irritable, and you can suffer from insomnia. So it's not easy, but you'll be over it within 5 days, and then you won't miss it. But every time you're craving chocolate, first eat some natural fresh fruit. I've seen people eating raw cacao and drinking things containing energy drinks containing raw guarana, which is full of caffeine. It's just caffeine, basically. But they won't eat fruit because it's fattening or it's bad for you. And that's absolute nonsense. There's no science that backs that. It's not even a theory. It's just an old wives' tale. In fact, it's something that was started by the high protein, high fat movement, who tells you can't have any fruit in your diet. Well, let them carry on doing it. But if you want your immune system to work properly, you had better start eating fruit and vegetables every day. Some of them. Some people love more fruit. My husband can eat 3 or 4 fruits a day. I can eat 10 or 11. I love fruit. Other people won't eat as much and they'll eat more vegetables. You've got to learn to listen to your body, but don't exclude fruit. Find at least one, even if it's an apple, to eat a day. Alcohol, as I said earlier, sterilizes the digestive tract, but what it does is it upsets the endocrine system because it upsets the blood sugar. And when you upset the blood sugar, the endocrine system can't work properly. The immune system can't work properly. Alcohol destroys vitamins and minerals. You need to eat a lot more fruit and vegetables if you've got alcohol in your diet, because your endocrine system will simply not work properly. Now, Jennifer Meek is an immunologist and a nutritionist. She said that the best way to avoid the common cold, anything from the common cold to cancer and AIDS, is to boost your immune system through natural nutrition. This is what she says, to quote her: Raw whole foods provide many other factors, some of which are probably unknown, like natural antibiotics, essential oils, pigments, enzymes, which are of benefit to health. Raw whole foods increase the oxygen content of our cells, especially important for the prevention of cancer, where cells have switched to live without oxygen. Fresh fruits and vegetables are high in potassium, which is essential for maintaining a healthy immune system and for avoiding cancer. She also says that all processed foods, and this even includes cooked whole foods here, requires your immune system to defend your gut, and many white blood cells are lost. Raw foods, however, do not cause destruction of white defenders. It would appear that some raw food taken before cooked food reduces or eliminates the battle fatalities, so saving you the energy used in fighting, repair, and replacement. So one of the things I encourage you to do today and on the 365 and any other program you have and in my books is to always eat some raw fruit or vegetables before you have breakfast, lunch, or supper, or a snack in meals. So before you have breakfast, you might have some papaya or a banana or an apple before you eat, or you might want fruit for breakfast. Before you have lunch, you might have fruit or you might have vegetables. You might have the hummus dip. You eat raw vegetables or fruit before you eat anything else, because that stops the mass production of white blood cells. Cooked food into the stomach straight away puts your body into a state of panic, basically, the immune system into panic, and basically white blood cells get destroyed in the process of doing that. It's a condition called leukocytosis. It actually has a nice fancy name, but what it means is destruction of white blood cells by eating a variety of reasons, but eating cooked food without putting raw food in the stomach first causes this leukocytosis to take place. So very important, okay? Gluten, we know, can affect the immune system as well. Celiac disease is a classic example of food sensitivity. It's caused by the immune system responding to gluten found in wheat, oats, rye, and barley. And the reason we get that response to natural substances in food is because we, in westernized cultures, have consumed it together with refined sugar. We'll have cookies and biscuits and cereals with sugar in them, but they contain gluten. And your body, refined sugar makes your blood sugar shoot up high, and then you overproduce insulin, brings it down too low. And so you have this blood sugar going up and down. And what happens then is the immune system doesn't work as well as it should. So the antibodies, the body activates the immune system, and the antibodies are looking for whatever protein came in with that sugar, which is the enemy. Let's find the protein and make an antibody and attack it, and then it recognizes. Remember, they're the soldiers that recognize the faces of all the baddies. So it starts to attack the gluten, which is fine, except that gluten is very similar to some proteins in our bodies. And when we're gluten intolerant, you may not have celiac disease. You might just have bumps on the back of your arms. You could find that you have thyroid problems, a fuzzy head. You could find you have skin problems, you're dry skin, or you have acne, it's too oily. Your body's simply not working properly. So gluten intolerance can cause immune problems as well. And it might be important to get gluten out of the diet, because it can cause malabsorption of nutrients, and that can cause immune system problems. So research indicates that dermatitis, anemia, loss of bone density, arthritis, joint symptoms, dental defects, infertility, and neurological symptoms such as intellectual deterioration and seizures, and possibly multiple sclerosis, are manifestations of celiac disease or gluten intolerant. It's estimated that some people say 1 in 300, some people say 1 in 3 suffer from many of these symptoms. I find that most people do better with gluten out of the diet. The digestive tract itself is a lot more comfortable. You can get gluten-free oats that is grown in Finland. It's not made gluten-free because it's packed in premises. Gluten-free is found in rice and sweet potatoes and quinoa and millet. Gluten is found in wheat, most oats, rye, and barley grains, not the grass. So if you sprout the grains, and you get the barley grass or the wheat grass, there's no gluten in it, okay? So what happens, gluten can also cause problems with loss of anemia, loss of iron. Anemia is one of the most common deficiency diseases amongst women and children in the westernized world, where bread is considered the staff of life. It could cause considerable health problems when we have gluten in the diet. We know that arthritis, osteoporosis, and infertility are all problems that can be caused from gluten intolerance. And if we quote from some of the research that was published in the Lancet Journal way back in 1997, Archives of Internal Medicine, Journal of Gastroenterology, all these are mentioned in here. It says clinicians need to consider the possibility of celiac disease when treating patients with any of these symptoms. Even the classic symptoms of diarrhea and weight loss are not present. If they're not present, it's also important for physicians to be aware that the prevalence of celiac disease is increased in certain high-risk groups, such as insulin-dependent diabetics, people with Down syndrome, IgA deficiency, and autoimmune thyroid diseases, Alzheimer's or autism, and children with juvenile arthritis, okay? All of that shows the immune system's not working properly, and it's best to get gluten out, okay? Earlier, I mentioned that we need to have essential fatty acids in the diet, but why exactly? Because a deficiency in the precursor to many of our hormones called prostaglandins, if we have a deficiency of prostaglandins, which are made from essential fatty acids, it can lead to a breakdown in the immune system, resulting in asthma, hay fever, sinusitis, candida albicans, eczema, and a whole lot of other inflammatory conditions as well. Prostaglandins are made from essential fatty acids found in natural plant fats. Okay, so it's important we have them. I recommend that if you're taking Omega, that you're taking 6 a day at least. If the inflammation doesn't go, that you increase that to a point where it goes, and then once it's gone, you come back to 6 a day, which is maintenance amount, okay? All right, so remember to find out about the Omega from the person who introduced you to the program, whoever they are. If they invited you, they'll know probably how to get the products that I mentioned, because they're either on the 365 or they're studying our nutrition course, or they've done one of the other courses. We know that fluoride, studies from Britain and America show that fluoride confuses our immune systems. That's fluoride in toothpaste, for example, causing our body to attack the body's own tissues, resulting in autoimmune diseases, which can result in skin rashes, gastrointestinal disorders, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis. So it's important that we not have fluoride in our toothpaste and not have fluoride in tablets. Some people still take fluoride tablets, and it doesn't make any sense. We know that it affects the immune system negatively. The International Academy of Oral Medicine and Toxicology in Canada advised that mercury amalgam fillings should be discontinued until such as primary pathological evidence of amalgam safety has been produced, and it hasn't. So they add that although it's been led to believe these fillings are stable and harmless when combined with other components of silver dental amalgam, this is not the case. They further add that mercury vapor is released into the body from these fillings, and it takes about 70 days for the mercury vapor to pass out of the body. So if you have a filling in your mouth and you're just chewing food, you're releasing mercury vapor. If you're drinking hot drinks, you're releasing mercury vapor. So if you have your fillings removed, it takes about 70 days to have all of the mercury. Usually takes about that long to get out of your system. With some people, it can be longer, okay? Do I recommend that you go and have all your fillings removed in one go? I don't. I did it slowly. I did it as a filling fell out or needed replacement. I did one at a time. That's how I did it. Some people feel the need to go and do it all at once. I think you just need to find a decent dentist, talk to them, and do what you feel is comfortable and what's affordable for you. Most people can't afford to have all their fillings removed all in one foul swoop. There are porcelain fillings you can put in that don't contain mercury or amalgam. It's the mercury that causes the problem, okay? And we know that it causes a whole lot of health problems, such as headaches, muscular weakness, sleeplessness, loss of appetite and weight, gastrointestinal problems, joint and muscle aches, metallic taste, sore gums, sore tongue, increased and decreased salivation, black lines on the teeth, increased risk of infection, enlarged thyroid, liver and kidney problems, breathlessness, vertigo, irregular heartbeat, irritability, nervousness, timidity, loss of memory, depression, tumors, manic depression, psychosis, double vision, involuntary eye movements, oh my word, and slight to severe skin changes. That's enough, okay? So just with that, don't get like totally neurotic about it, but seriously think of gradually removing all your amalgam fillings. So what can you do? You're about to say, this is it, give up, I might as well die, there's nothing left to eat, okay? Rather than focus on what you can't do, focus on what you can do, okay? So what we do on the 365 is you add more of the good food to your existing diet and you slowly make gradual changes. You'll be in a community or a group that's either on Facebook page that supports you or is on a WhatsApp group. And in that community group, you have a facilitator who basically is the leader of the group, and everybody posts pictures of what they eat. They ask questions, and that's just there for your support in between. But once a week, every week for an entire year, I will meet with you and I will answer the questions that you have about your health at least. Any questions you have regarding your health, what you can do with your immune system, how you can detox better, why aren't you sleeping properly? All those questions get answered. And it's the most amazing thing to hear people's stories. One woman in Canada, Monica, she makes me laugh every week. She says, I'm here and I'm busy working and I'm listening. And she was sharing her testimony, and she had terrible menstrual periods. She said, I felt like I was dying. She actually said, I felt like I was being killed. And I know that feeling because it feels like somebody's sticking a knife into you and twisting it inside you. And she said, since she's been on the program, it's taken 3 or 4 months, but she says she can have a menstrual period and she doesn't feel like somebody's killing her anymore. She's sleeping better at night. Her brain is clearer. She's lost, I think, 30 or odd pounds, 36, 32 pounds. I don't want to misquote her, but she's lost a lot of weight. And it's not about weight loss. It's about gaining your health. And that's what we focus on. How do you gain your health back? How do you help your body? You can take the information to go out there and do your best with it. If you want to, you can join our 365. It's the most amazing program I have ever developed in my life. I absolutely love it. It's every day you have an email coming from me, and every week I will meet with you from between 1 and 2 hours for you to ask questions. I have different slots for people in Australia, New Zealand, and the United States, and South Africa and England. There are different slots that you can slot into that will help you. You can listen to the playback. If you can't get there, you can actually watch the recordings. Link is sent to you every week so that you have you have support from books. All our books that we've ever written, Perfect Health, Healthy Kids, Perfect Weight, and Take Control, 5 recipe books, detox programs, all of that's included as part of this program. And if I have to, rather than focusing on what you can do, you're going to follow the 5 basic steps. You're going to be taking your barley grass juice, which you're either going to make or you're going to use the powder. You're going to make sure that you're having these, and you're not going to feel overwhelmed because you've got the system helping you. I do everything I can, and I'm committed to this for life. I'm going to do this until I die, hopefully at 120, because I personally have a goal to go that long. I want to make sure that my brain is working. So I'm kind of just over halfway. So I've got a long way still to go. And I recommend that you get on the program as quickly as possible. So I want to explain to you how it actually works. As I said, we've got 52 weekly question and answer sessions that I do every single week. We got support from the facilitators 365 days of the year. You get emails from me 365 days of the year, 5 recipe books, 4 books, a food combining chart, seasonal eating chart that shows you what to eat at what time of the year, 14 detox programs plus the 30-day detox as well, which you get a separate book with that, the 100 Days to Health programs all included at that, the 365, as I said, actual daily contact. Over that, if I add all of that up together, the actual cost of all of those, the cost of what it would cost if I was to charge you individually for that, comes to $5,310. I actually worked it out properly tonight. The average American, statistics show the average American spends about $6,015 per year per family, starting from like 2 people or more. $6,015 on over-the-counter selling medication, painkillers, headache tablets, digestive aids, antidepressants, anti-inflammatories. All of that stuff just adds up to over $6,000. So I'm not going to charge you $5,300. I'm not even going to charge you $500. Why I'm going to charge you only $365 is because I have a mission. Mark and I have a mission in life to reach 1 million people. And we know that there are courses and programs out there, and we've seen them, and we've heard about people doing them, and we know people who are offering courses that cost between $3,000 and $6,000 for 6 to 8 weeks. We're offering you a 365, an entire year program for only $365. That is incredibly reasonable. And as I said, it's because we're trying to reach more people, not less people. We don't want a small group of 30 people. We need to reach 1 million people in the next 5 years. The only way we're going to get there is if you all get well and tell your friends and family and bring them on board. So we are doing this to genuinely, we really think there's so much going on in the world we're living in, and so much craziness in all over the world, whether it's weather or politics or religion, it doesn't matter. There's crazy stuff happening in schools. And honestly, all we can do right now is stay as healthy as possible, learn how to grow our own food, connect with our Creator, find spiritual balance, eat well, exercise, get fresh air, sunlight. On the program, we cover 12 pillars of health, and we cover 12 body systems. One of them is the immune system, which we've gone over now. But instead of giving it all intense in one session like this, it's spread out over a period of time. So you're getting little sound bites. I'm also offering this actual book, all the content of what I've done this evening and today for you. I'm offering the book for anybody who signs up between now and the 25th of July. They will get this little booklet in PDF form mailed to them. If you are already on the 365 and you would like this booklet, you need to just introduce 2 people onto the program before the end of July, and you will get this booklet for free as well. Our natural health and nutrition students do get this book included in their studies. And then if you're wanting to study natural health and nutrition, you can go to our website, or you can ask your facilitator. Your facilitator can point you towards it as well. Many of the facilitators are actually studying the course. And you can also look at things on our website at wholeworldwell.com. Or you can email Claudia at info@wholeworldwell.com. But you have been invited here tonight by somebody. Might have been myself directly. So you can contact info@wholeworldwell. If it's not me and it was somebody else, please go back to them and let them help you, because they are trained and they know what they're doing and they're there to help you. And you may not want to be talking to them all day long. Some people don't want to come to the Q&A every week. They come once a month. It's entirely up to you when you come. We're here to support you. We're on a mission to make the whole world well. I'm serious. It's not just like, I'm Miss Universe and I'm going to, in my year of reign, I'm going to work towards world peace. I'm not just saying that. This is my passion. It is Mark's passion. Because if we can make the world a better place, we would have achieved something in our lifetime. And one of the most efficient ways to do that is help people get healthy. When people are healthy, they are nicer to be around. They are kinder to be around. They are more peaceful. They are more sensible. They are more open-minded to hear what people say. I'm not saying we need to walk around open-minded, just absorbing everything that comes along, but I find since I'm healthier, I'm more happy to listen to somebody else's point of view or opinion. Whereas when I was a little sugar junkie, I was very fundamentalist in my way of my belief system, and I wouldn't listen to what anybody had to say. So it does make us nicer people, and does makes us more peaceful people without having to take drugs to be calm, okay? So if you have any questions, I know that Mark is sitting here frantically answering a whole lot of questions, and he's probably got some questions to ask me. You answered them all. Okay. So with that, Mark's answered them all and helped you. I'm sure many of you have got lots of things to do out there. One of them is to get onto the program. It's easy to get on the program. Just speak to your facilitator or get onto Whole World Well, and you can sign up for the program this evening, today, tonight, tomorrow. You get the book, remember, if you sign on before the 25th. And if you're an existing 365 member and you like the book, you just need to introduce 2 other people to the program before the 30th. If there are any questions you have to ask, I will see you on Wednesday night in the 365. If you join tonight, you will already be in the Q&A session on a Wednesday night, and I will be speaking to you for there. Otherwise, you can do it the following. If you sign up after that, I will speak to you in the following Wednesday evening. All I want to say is that it's always a privilege and an honor for me to be part of your health, your journey to health. I hope that I've inspired and helped you to understand how your immune system works so that you can take control of your immune system. You can help your body work more efficiently and not live in fear. It's not right that we should live in fear in any area of our life. And I hope I've empowered you to make some better choices. Other than that, I'm going to say is God bless you all, keep you well, make healthy choices, and we'll see you on Wednesday evening.